Hello everyone, welcome to the Tim Radio Show. I'm your host Tim Radio, and this is episode number 19. So we got a couple cool topics in this one about the raid that happened there, some news about Rudy Giuliani, an update with Epstein, Prince Andrew, and some new stuff. Donald Trump, little tidbit there. So let's just get right into it. So the first part is the Dresden Green Vault Raiders. They came in there, busted into this big vault that had all these just tons and tons and tons of jewelry. Like we're gonna see some pictures here. It's in Germany. It's a museum there. This is what it looks like on the inside. So it's a pretty fancy place there. Like no security in this thing at all. They disabled it using fire. So they caused a little fire. It disabled the alarm system, and they basically cut a hole. This is one of the things gone. I mean, look at that thing. And those things are real. Those aren't Swarovski crystals, whatever. $1 billion worth, essentially $1 billion. They don't even know what it's really worth because it's kind of like sentimental value in a way because it's cultural and historic, and that's one of the holes they busted through. You can see that the vault's like right there. Like, I mean, kind of a horrible spot to put your vault. I mean, I'd put the vault up here or something up top, but one of the funny things that they mentioned was that they were conspicuously small. They were like, these were very small people. So I was just like, oh, they're aliens. Aliens snuck in there. Because they're always talking about the aliens being like, 4 foot tall or something like that. But they make look at this stuff. Up to 850 million euros. That's crazy. Or is that pounds? Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, so 1 billion euros. And so one of the things they said is that noticeably small by witnesses. Man, look at those things, crazy. It's a nice looking museum too. But they just disabled it. They got some security. It's kind of vague too because they're saying we hope we can get some, even though the power's cut off, we hope to get some security. How come they don't have it yet? I mean, they should be open that like first thing. Supposedly the people jumped out. They got away in a limo, and then they found the vehicle burnt up later. But I mean, they would have cameras. Like a lot of shops would have cameras. A lot of But at this time, they're not going to get them. Like if they got away that long ago, like this happened, I guess probably, within 24 hours. If they didn't get them yet, they're not going to get them. There's no way. Supposedly they can cut the diamonds, and it's virtually untraceable. Sorry, there's a little phone thing there. So that's basically it. Just thought it was kind of. Oh yeah, there was one thing here they talked about the notorious Pink Panther gang who are behind several of Europe's most daring heists. So supposedly they got $280 million payday on one of their jobs. Supposedly it's made out of 200 criminals. They're famous for putting in a giant diamond in a pot of skin cream during an audacious 2003 raid in London. And supposedly it's made up of mainly Serbians and Montenegrins. They struck all around the world. Kane, Singapore, Dubai, and Tokyo. I mean, so it's probably these guys. I mean, nobody would go... And there's probably some kind of inside element to it, too, because... I mean, just to know you can disable it with fire, and... I don't know. I mean, these guys do their homework anyway, but... So maybe this was ripe for the picking for a long time. But look at that, it's pretty crazy. They got the power cut here, and then they went like, that's pretty, I don't know, pretty cool, but anyway. So I thought it was interesting. Rudy Giuliani put out a tweet here and retweeted something. Ryan Fournier tweeted this message here. Rudy Giuliani was U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York and one of the greatest mayors in New York history. He has been exposing corruption in his entire career. He's now uncovered a massive pay-for-play scheme that happened under Obama. Get ready. So this is referring to the Biden stuff with Biden and Hunter Biden, his son, and the Ukrainian gas company that gave him basically like billions of dollars worth of investments and got investments from China or whatever, all this kind of weird stuff, and mainly because Biden was the vice president to Obama. So supposedly that's, you know, some stuff, so he retweets that, and then Rudy Giuliani messages later, just in general, tweeting on his own thing. I discovered a pattern of corruption that the Washington press covered up for years. I'm also going to bring out a massive pay-for-play scheme under Obama administration that will devastate the Democrat Party. Do you think I'm honestly intimidated? So he I think he was on like an interview there the other day where they're kind of like, aren't you worried? He's like, man, I took on the mob and stuff. You know, if they didn't kill me, these guys, they ain't got nothing. And then he also says if he disappears, all this stuff is going to come out automatically. I don't know where he says that. He said it. I read that earlier. Yeah, like the mafia couldn't kill me, so no, I'm not worried about the swamp press. But yeah, they're going to show, so some stuff like this. So there might be some cool news that happens there, but then again, he's representing the president, so he could just be straight up doing just like lawyer tactics, because he even said that in an interview, saying, I'm just being a good lawyer. I'm doing what's best for I'm hell of a good lawyer and doing this. Any good lawyer would do this for their client, and the president's my client. And so I'm like, oh, well, you know, it makes sense. I mean, can't dock him for that. And then I pulled up his history, like just kind of pull him up and see, you know, just read about it, because I know he has a good history and stuff, but wasn't really, you know, was fully into it. But, you know, for the September 11th attacks, you know, just crime and stuff, giving law enforcement different tactics and things like this, bumping up technology. There's just so many things that, and the way he handled, you know, the terrorists stuff. So there's actually, and just fighting the mob too, so actually getting rid of like the mafia, that's kind of like that whole, you know, kind of classic mafia, kind of controlling different neighborhoods and, you know, turf wars and all this kind of stuff. He took down a lot of people. A lot of people went down during his, as a I think a prosecutor. Was he a prosecutor, or was he, I think he was just a prosecutor at that time. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. It's a kind of interesting character to read up on. I'm sure when he dies and stuff, someone will do a movie on him, because it's pretty cool. Depending on how the whole Trump thing pans out, at least. I want to play this too, because this was on the QAnon pub board where they just shared this video. I thought it was pretty interesting.
Headley. And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our Treasure Valley communities,
the El Paso, Las Cruces communities,
Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But we are concerned about the trouble and trend of irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social
Okay, it's actually creepy. Like, this is actually creepy.
media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 I like they all have the head bob, and it's extremely dangerous, and they do the head bob to our democracy. And they're like, the head bob, and then this week.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 I mean, just the first part, like that's
communities.
Really
The El Paso, Las Cruces communities.
Eastern Iowa communities.
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality.
So, I mean, they're obviously talking about social media and how fake news is spreading and all this kind of stuff when they're the very exact problem they're talking about. It was actually in a worse sense because they're the professionals that are put there in play to kind of give us the sense that there's people on the ground doing something individual. Now, in some ways you can kind of forgive them because they're affiliates, right? So they get stories from, like, a company will buy the story and then the affiliates can run that story. So it's almost like rehashing an article. So, like, even when I pull up an article, if there's a whole bunch of us that are just reading that article, then, you know, we're all going to sound the same. But the creepy part is the fact that there are news organizations, local news affiliates, they're covering content that's obviously scripted for a particular game. That's not news. They're giving, that's like an opinion piece. Like, they're doing like little, and so they all have to go do that. So I mean, that's where you see big money pulling the strings in the background, and like big corporations control the news, because if they don't want a story in there, it's going to get spiked. If they want to kind of push forward this kind of, like, remember last week I showed you that clip from MSNBC. It was a little ad they put up, their own little ad. They put it up themselves, and they're like, you know, we got to get past this, you know, old antiquated personal notion that your kids belong to you, when in reality they belong to the community. The community has to work together and take responsibility. And it's like, wait, what? You're literally advocating for removing parental rights. So if you don't agree with the way I'm raising my kid, that someone can step in and be like, no, you're not allowed to do this, you have to do it. Like, not talk about endangering, but you know, just, you know, you teach your kids this, or don't teach your kids, or feed them that, don't feed them that, or, you know, whatever. So anyway, that's just a clear example of all that kind of bias. And, you know, we actually see this in a lot of ways too. Just like in the fashion thing, this was one of the things that got pulled up here. People just pulling out the hypocrisy on like specific, not just even different, you know, opinion pieces from different people. Like the same person in the same papers giving the same, looking at the same item and giving two different critiques. So when Melania had the all white, she basically says it's like Klan. It looks like Klan stuff. It's just scary. It's, you know, it's a scary statement. And then when Hillary does it, it's like, and this is like, look, this is a week apart basically. And she's like, oh, it's, you know, this is what we need basically. It's unreal. And then they even not only did that to her, but then another one, Vanessa Friedman, did this to for Hillary Clinton, saying why she wore white, did she look president? Then she goes, and I actually read this thing too. It's just like they kind of give the reason why she did it in the good way, like, you know, it does this, it does that, you know, blue will make you feel good, but red will do this, it's for power, and they explain it, and they're like, yeah, and that she wants to kind of make people feel comfortable. And then when Tulsi Gabbard does it, it's like, it's not winning, not working, it's the critique side to it. So, and that's fine, you know, these are opinion pieces, they're writing articles, they got their own slant, but it just shows that when people go look at content and stuff like that, they got to realize they're not just, it's not news. It is not news. It's not facts. There's not really facts out there in articles anymore. It's just people rehashing content. They don't even want to pull anything up. They don't want to read where it comes from. When you talk about climate change, nobody wants to read where the 90% of climate Scientologists agree. Scientologists, that's what you call them. So, you know, the people don't actually dig that stuff up and then, like, really hash it out and see what they're talking about. You know, same with that Sacha Baron Cohen. You should go watch that from yesterday's episode. And it's kind of, it might be a little annoying, but to watch, because every sentence he says, I pick it apart. Like, every sentence he says, I'm just ripping it up, because the guy doesn't know what he's talking about. It's full of crap. And if there's, you know, 2-minute snippet there, that's good. Just share the snippet. But it's kind of crazy, you know, how serious people will take this kind of stuff. Like, people would read this. Like, she has some fans, I'm sure. People read it. She gets paid to write. So people read it, and then, you know, they're even linking different topics here, cross-linking, and it's always going to have a slant to it. You know, it's the same thing if you go on, like, InfoWars or Breitbart or Daily Beast or something like that. There's going to have a different angle to it. So it's the same kind of thing, but that's what we need to keep in mind when we look at this kind of information on both sides. It's always going to have a slant to it, and it's never going to be it's only going to be representative of how they see stuff. So here, anyway, and some other news that I thought was pretty interesting. Ryan Reynolds purchased ownership stake in Mint Mobile. So he actually bought this Mint Mobile website, this company. So, I mean, that's kind of crazy. You usually, and he even said this, usually you see companies buy like alcohol brands or clothing brands, like lifestyle brands. And I mean, this is going to be a lifestyle brand. It's a lifestyle brand still. It's just in the tech industry. It's in cell phones. And they just sell like really cheap plans, And it's a cool brand. Looks nice. They're kind of like the budget brand, so they're really cheap. And he has like star power, right? So he's definitely going to be using it for his brand. He can basically write off his own advertising of himself just doing commercials. So it's kind of smart. Nobody like you might be kind of tired of him. Like I'm kind of tired of seeing him in like every friggin' movie. It's just too many movies. It's too much. It's too over. But you watch him and you gotta like him. And it's like kind of hard not to like him. So anyway, Prince Andrew update here. The Ghislaine Maxwell girl that supposedly was the madame for Jeffrey Epstein, the one procuring all the girls, and was the daughter of the disgraced politician that embezzled like $100 million or $200 million or something from like public pension funds. And he indicated in the interview that he did with ABC there a couple days ago, like last week, saying that he feels like something's wrong with this picture. So that could actually very well be the case, that there could be something wrong with that this photo, that it's doctored somehow. And it's just kind of weird because you get the whole effect that there is a flash. So the image looks like there's a flash, and then you can also see the flash in the background. It almost seems too perfect, and even her position there almost seems too perfect. Now that you look at it, kind of does. Like, why would they get a photo like that? Like, it's almost like but like, why are they standing there? They're standing it looks like they're standing at the top of the stairs or something like that so it is kind of a strange photo, to be honest. But I mean, the guy's clearly a freak anyway, because he was hanging out with the guy all the time. He was there. He did spend the night at his house for 3 nights after he. Oh, that's a weird image there. After man, this is a horrible site to cross advertise or stuff. Oh yeah, and he's kicked out of the house now. The wife kicked him out. He doesn't have to. He's not doing his public duties anymore. He's not going to get paid like that anymore. He's out. So, I don't know. Something's going to happen with this. And this is the real story. Supposedly she's going to come out of hiding. She's in hiding right now. We looked at that kind of weird photo that she did, that she posted it, and then someone found out that it couldn't have been at that time, and then it's meta tagged with the company that that her lawyer is. So there's just all this weird fishy stuff about it. And she was reading the book Secret Lives and Deaths of CIA Operatives. I mean, just so many things there. Like, that's just bizarre. And she's a scammer. She's a blackmailer. She would procure women for Jeffrey Epstein, all allegedly, But supposedly she's gonna come out and start talking about some stuff. And it was kind of weird that he just did that interview right before as well. And like, everybody was like, "That's a PR nightmare. Why would you do it? Just ignore it. You don't need to. Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you talking about it? Just, even just for self-preservation." Kind of thinking, like, why would you go out there and go in the limelight and let them ask you all these crazy questions? Because clearly you did do something wrong, and then if you didn't, it looks so bad anyway, that's kind of hard to defend yourself against it. So even if he didn't do it, and it is all like, he's just, man, I'm serious, I really didn't do it. If that's true, then he still just paints himself with a really bad image, because it's hard to believe it. It's hard to believe that. And then he even says Ghislaine thinks there's a lot of problems with the picture, and it's very fishy. But it's just, I don't know. It's very bizarre. It's one of the very few photos that does not bear a time and date stamp. Which, actually at the time, those would have been much older cameras. They weren't going to be digital cameras and stuff. So if that was one of those things, that could have been, one of those cameras in the wall type deals that he had. But then the weird thing is that they're kind of facing it. So But it could have been composed of, like, it's a lot of stuff that could happen. But we're going to see what happens anyway. So an international group of doctors signed this thing that they basically want the government to let him out into the university hospital so that they can take care of him, because his health, people are saying on the inside that his health's bad. He used to be at the embassy. I think it was the Ecuadorian embassy there for like 7 years. And then Sweden and stuff just dropped the rape case that was against him because it expires, basically. So that all expires. There's nothing else to really charge him for. But he's in the prison still for bond, like for doing something related to the bond. You know, having your bond, your bail bond or whatever. You know. So he's doing time for that. But they're basically, his health is going to crap, and they want to get him out and get him to the hospital. I mean, he ties into the whole. He's basically the founder of WikiLeaks, so the whole company that distributed all these emails about like Podesta and spirit cooking and all this pedophilia related stuff that the government was talking about, like people in the government were doing. You know, leaked all these emails about all this corruption. There's just thousands and thousands and thousands of documents that came out in all these different topics, all these different ways that basically really proved all this weird high-level Illuminati type corruption that we see. And it's not really Illuminati, it's just like a whole bunch of evil people just working together, really. But anyway, they want to get him out because they think he's gonna die soon if they don't get him out into at least the hospital and start treating him. I feel like they might get him into the hospital and then he's gonna disappear. Then you won't see him anymore. But and then just lastly, I thought this was pretty funny. So this was a dog that was involved in the Baghdadi raid, where al-Baghdadi was running down. He took his kids, like a couple kids or something, and his wife, strapped them up in suicide vests, and he was just running down the tunnel to try and escape, threatening to blow them all up if they try to get him. The military basically sent in the dog and kind of disabled it or whatever, or caused the guy to blow himself up, and then he blew himself up. The dog got injured a little bit, but nobody else got injured, and he's fine now. And he posted Trump posted a picture of him giving like a medal to the dog, like a little fake photoshopped image of him putting like a dog medal around the dog, and it looks like the Freedom Medal or something. And news articles actually ran saying, "Oh my, this is so photoshopped. Oh my God, this is photoshopped, man. This is so fake. How does he think we're that stupid?" Blah blah. And it's like, dude, I think he's aware of the fact that it's a joke. It's a meme. It's a funny little thing. He's not. I can't imagine him posting that for real, thinking he's gonna dupe people into thinking he's actually putting a medal around a dog that has a little paw print on it, like it's a joke photo. But actually, a lot of people did it. Like wrote about it, upset about it, and they even contacted the person that the Photoshop was part of. Like they replaced the dog's head with, I mean, they replaced this guy's head with the dog's head, right? And then they replaced the little image on the medal. So they went and found the original guy, and then the guy was like, "I didn't even see it before, but that's actually pretty funny, and that's good that they give recognition to the dog." So they're like, "Damn it, didn't work." But anyway, this is the dog. He actually brought him to the White House. I thought I'd just play a minute of it. It's kind of cool. It's really bad audio in a couple of spots, so.
Conan's not retiring yet. Conan's prime time.
And just listen to the last question they ask. These people are so stupid, man.
Age-wise, prime time. About 6 years, like an athlete. 6 years. They start. They like to get them at 1.5 or 2 years old, and they'll go for about 6 years from that time. After that, it happens where maybe the reflexes aren't quite as good. You know, things like that happen. Would never happen to us. But the dog prime time is those 6 years after 2. And they're very special dogs. They're very hard to get. This particular dog is the ultimate fighter, ultimate everything. Ultimate in terms of sniffing drugs. We've spent a tremendous amount of money on drug equipment at the border. And I was talking to the people, I say, well, is there anything better than this equipment?
I just and just to pause for a second, the kind of the candidness there of just how he talks about, he'll tell you what he told someone. He doesn't care. And, that might be, he's got in trouble a few times because they're like, man, you're not allowed to tell that. You're not allowed to say it. And I say, why not? And they're like, well, there's kind of a law there that says you're not allowed to repeat. He's like, oh, okay. And he just kind of like shoves it under the table, doesn't mention it again. But he'd be like, what? Like, he has that face where he's like, what? Why wouldn't you say it? You crazy? Of course I'm going to say it. And then he'll just say it. He doesn't care. Like when he called Kim Jong-un Rocket Man, little Rocket Man. Little Rocket Man. You're going to feel the fire and fury of the United States if you send off another one of those. And and the guy stopped it. They got a whole meeting going. They did all this kind of, it was kind of, it's a good step at least. I mean, it's an odd step to make, but it ended up being a good step forward because that other leader responded to that kind of, it's almost like these like when you're not to make people dogs or whatever, but to a degree you can see that similarity when you're racing a dog and there's an alpha in the room and you can clearly see who the dogs will kind of gravitate towards as the alpha male, as the leader. If one dog does something, they'll kind of yield to that position. People have the same kind of similarities. People do that a lot. You see that in any kind of those classes and stuff for social dominance and sales leadership skills and all those kind of things. That's what they essentially tell you, is how to make those little movements and these things to kind of emphasize. And he just naturally does it. He's a big guy, so that always is a big, if you have a large stature, that's a huge benefit. And he's always big on hair, right? Because if he was bald, he wouldn't feel near as confident. And he'll tell people that too. You should get a hairpiece because you don't look good bald. He said that to people and they got mad at him and stuff. Or if women are too big or do this, have stupid hair or whatever, it's like, why let your hair down? You look like an old mother or something. He'll say that to them. Weird. But anyway, let's just finish this.
No, sir. The only thing better is a dog. A dog, this type of dog, exactly, because it's a certain type of dog. And it's pretty amazing, but they are really better. We had a case where we had drugs in the cylinder of a car, and it was undetectable by this very expensive machinery, which is really amazing machinery, but still.
Oh, come on.
It was undetectable. The dog came in, jumped in the hood, pointing, opened the hood and knew exactly. It's incredible, the sense of smell, or whatever it may be, probably.
He's thinking like what? But actually, it's not even just smell, it's the taste. They can taste, just like how you can taste smell. Like or smell taste, or you know what I mean.
Sense of smell. So they're incredible animals, and thank you all very much.
Did you say he's a very good boy?
That stupid idiot, man! I would have fired that guy right now. If someone said, I'd fire him.
Incredible animals, and thank you all very much.
Did you say he's a very good boy? Did you say he's a very good boy? Did you say he's a very good boy?
Would you say he's a very good boy? They just want to hear him say he's a very good boy. Like they just want that soundbite of him saying that. But that's stupid. I want to know who that guy is, man. If I was whatever, it's probably CNN. No, CNN would ask like a mean question. They'd ask like, "Is it true that you wanted the dog to be all white?" or something like just something ridiculous. But anyway. That's it for today, guys. This was a short one. Hope you liked it. Give it a thumbs up, give a comment, subscribe, give the notification bell a little hit. That way you get notified when we go live and stuff like that. And I'll see you on the next one.